Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Charles Gerenser. He is a entrepreneur, a partner at Relentless Venture Studio. He specializes in sales initiatives, acquisitions, and exits. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Thank you, Ajay. Appreciate it.
You are welcome to the show, Charles. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship, we'll talk about sales, we'll talk about marketing. So, my first question to you, Charles, is to understand a bit more about Relentless Venture Studio. What is this all about? And then also tell us a bit about yourself. You have a very great deal of understanding about business development, sales automation, sales and marketing expert. So that will, help us understand who audience understand who they are listening to.
Sure. Ajay, well, thank you very much. Well, I'm pleased that you have a primary audience in India because, as Jeff Bezos said very recently, this is going to be the Indian century. So I feel like I'm in very early, and I'm excited to be here. So Relentless Venture Studio is a operation based in California, on the other side of the world here in the United States. We're located near the coast, halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, in a college city, San Luis Obispo, California. We started in 2017, initially as a operation that would work on small, predominantly software as a service startup company initiatives that would be wholly owned by the partnership. And then over time, we were approached by a number of entrepreneurs who had started up ventures of their own, again, predominantly in the technology and software as a service space, and needed assistance, guidance, funding, technology development, sales help. And so we created partnerships with a number of those firms, and then over time folded those companies into our venture studio. So that's 2017, 2018, 19. We're growing, we're both acquiring companies, and we're welcoming in existing smaller technology companies with founders and partnering with them. And then, of course, the COVID pandemic, which was an interesting time. So we entered that period, spring of 2020, with about 5 companies within our portfolio, and an interesting phenomena sort of occurred to us during that time, and that was we nearly tripled our venture studio portfolio because so many smaller technology firms were not prepared with any type of contingency plans when the pandemic beset the globe, and we were battle tested and ready. We were immediately ready to push our entire operation into remote work, working from home. We were ready to do that. And so we didn't miss a beat. And as we continued to prosper and grow, even in the most difficult of financial times and market conditions, we attracted a lot of attention from our peers throughout the North American continent, and today we now boast a portfolio of 16 technology companies, some of which were acquisitions, some were internal startups, and then, as I said earlier, some include founders who approached us looking for guidance and opportunity. So the world of Relentless really does focus on entrepreneurship first and foremost, because my partners and I have a wealth of experience in starting companies, and working those companies to scale and then exiting those companies. So I am a partner that focuses on sales and marketing initiatives and some operational initiatives within the portfolio. The founder of our firm, Alex Minicucci, is a serial entrepreneur who started his first business at 19 years old, and many decades later has never looked back. So within our DNA, we have been party to a multitude of startups, almost all in the technology space, and a number of exits, both to the public market as well as private equity. So that really is the Relentless story. And if you have any questions or thoughts on that, we can delve into that, or I can get a bit more into my personal narrative.
Yes, you can. You can. We will come to the relentless part. Indeed, a little relentless quest for more and more value creation. So we'll come to that. But we let people know a bit more about you, your success story, in fact.
Sure. So, so I actually grew up in Los Angeles, and I'm a public school trained individual from kindergarten all the way through to my advanced degrees in college. And coming out of my school training, I actually was working in the newspaper publishing world, believe it or not. And I actually did that for nearly a decade as a newspaper publisher in one of the largest newspapers in the Los Angeles market. And what's quite interesting about that is that foundation for me turned into a really advanced opportunity to become just an absolute, I have an absolute hunger for knowledge. And so what's interesting is running an entire newsroom and sales operation, pretty significant responsibility. And I was doing that in my early 20s. And so my attention to detail when I'm working on every mode of my current everyday life is an operation in detail, to leave no stone unturned, to not make foolish assumptions about the businesses that I'm involved with and run. And I owe a lot of that to my earliest days in the newspaper world, where fact finding and research were always just a staple of our everyday existence. And I've applied those techniques to my everyday as a business leader, as a CEO and general manager figure within my portfolio of companies. I have dozens of individuals who report to me, rely on me for guidance and inspiration. And so my ability to work within their silos of business and understand the details and the nuance that go into their everyday work, I think has made me an effective leader. And I really look at that. What is the test of how effectively you lead other people? And that is in the tenure of those who work for me. It's not uncommon in my organization to find people who've worked for and with me under 3 to 4 different banners, different companies, different organizations. Some of my longest standing employees have worked with me for decades. So actually, after my stint in publishing, I moved into electronic media, predominantly broadcast radio, and did that for some time. In 2008, I relocated from Los Angeles up the coast here to where I am today in San Luis Obispo, with really what was my last media assignment. And in 2013, I tacked it into full-time technology work. And again, when I work in tech, I say I work in technology, but I myself am not really a technologist. I'm first and foremost a sales and marketing expert. And during that time, in 2013, we were working as a group. Most of the people in my organization today at Relentless were also involved with that organization. And during that time, we actually sold a market exclusive software license to entrepreneurs throughout the world. And so it was in effect a business in a box that we sold to entrepreneurs looking to start a business, looking to create wealth, looking to create cash flow, and do it in a way that they could mitigate risk. And mitigating that risk involved following my partner's playbook for success, which was this license that we marketed throughout the world. And that was actually a company that we wound up exiting in a public transaction. And then ultimately that helped finance Relentless today.
Right, right, Charles. So you, as I said, you are relentless in buying. So you in your LinkedIn, I saw that you are saying you am actively buying technology companies. So in this present time, how are you looking at when everyone is talking about artificial intelligence? How are you focusing on tech buying tech companies at this point in time? I want to understand your mind in terms of what companies, what sort of companies that you are seeing growth in, which can help you grow your portfolio for good.
Sure. The majority of the software as a service platforms that we focus our time on are business services, and in particular those that aid the small business owner in terms of efficiencies within their technology stack, the ability to enhance the labor experience through the integration of AI. I mean, we're pretty excited about that. But like any new advancements in technology, and we certainly have seen this with AI, it is important that the end user is versed in the details, as I've said earlier, and the ability to write effective prompts so that your outputs are ultimately market ready. Anybody who's used AI enough realizes that there needs to be a fair amount of editing and oversight in order to create positive outcomes with its integration. We're particularly excited about the use of AI in web development. So the ability for entrepreneurs to, in effect, one-click the creation of an effectively communicating website, one that presents not only the value propositions of a business, but one that it can actually transact e-commerce or subscription revenue. That's particularly exciting to us.
Right, right. Now, you having so much of knowledge about sales and marketing, Charles, how do you look at the experience of customers with regards to customer satisfaction? A lot of customers uh, do not feel connected to the companies that they are. This is a big problem, and
Sure.
I don't know whether it is a problem of technology coming in, or it is about more of leadership getting detached from the customer itself. The salesperson might be very good, they might be dealing with the customer, but once the sale is done, they are out of the equation, and it is about the customer service team and the rest of the company that the customer has to deal with. And that is very, very bad, not only in one place, it's all across the world. How do you see it as an entrepreneur, as a sales and marketing person, and also someone who is also dealing in tech companies?
Fantastic question, Ajay. You bring up a very important point here. And, in a lot of ways, I blame Silicon Valley, my neighbors to the slight north, for this, because in the drive for top line revenue growth, oftentimes these technology companies will forsake their existing customers, right? And they don't really understand the detriment that creates within the business until a month or 2, 3 months later, when they get a churn report and they say, oh, we've lost half of our customers. Why? Right? And so you mentioned something really important there about salespeople or the front line disengaging from the customer experience completely post transaction. And that, I think, is a gigantic mistake that a lot of sales company or a lot of technologies company make within their sales organization. In fact, I've personally, very recently, from some very large technology vendors within our stack, I've received these types of messages where Bob, the salesman, will say, okay, you're off my plate. I'm going to hand you over to, Jerry, and he'll take it from here. then you try to call Bob, and it's just silence. It's just static. And so the way I see it is it is the responsibility on the sales side, because you're affecting expectations, you're affecting the perception from the customer walking in the door, what the experience is supposed to be. That relationship between the salesperson, the sales team, and the customer should persist and continue through the first phase of customer experience. And it certainly isn't just a single motion, a single handoff, and then you wash your hands of it. It should really be a persistent experience. And we can build that by allowing customers to have some access to the sales team for as long as they're a customer. I mean, there really should be no absolute reason to build an infinitely high wall between sales and then ongoing customer experience. There should be an ability to continue to build rapport with the customer, because at the end of the day, if you're building the right type of technology company, the first product is the first product. And then there are going to be enhancements and upsell opportunities down the line. So you don't want to forsake that relationship. Now, at the same time, you don't want your sales frontline overloaded with technology problems and questions. You want to make sure that there's clear delineation, that when the customers experience difficulties in different experiences within the software or platform, that they have clear instructions on how to deal with that. One of the best recommendations I can make to an entrepreneur in the technology space is for them to occasionally, and I don't mean once a year, I'm talking maybe once a month, to personally shop their own customer experience. And what I mean by that is they should call into the direct dial customer service line themselves. They should send an email to support from a alias email seeking guidance. They should interface with the chat bot on their own website and actually put themselves in the role of the basic or average customer. And oftentimes you will find holes and blind spots within the customer experience. And by doing that, they're able to truly understand where the most pressing needs might be within their customer experience. So that's the one biggest piece of advice. And I offer that on a very regular basis to our own portfolio companies and to college students, which we also mentor here locally. Never forsake the customer. The customer always comes first.
Absolutely. Those are good words. Nice to hear. But there has been a lot of accusation also that companies, perhaps some companies, if we can say, that do it deliberately to keep the customer actually to reach the right person. Otherwise, how is it that, it becomes so difficult to reach a problem solver?
Yeah.
Everyone talks, and it is not just about in India. It's a personal experience also. And I've talked to a lot of people. I ask these questions, a lot of my guests from outside, from the US, and good responsible people who are in good companies also. So why do they do it? Are they afraid of their service, the reality of their product or service? Why is it that they have to do it? Don't they think that this is going to destroy their industry, or their minds are so narrow that they simply don't care? The fact is they don't care simply. How do you look at, you are trying to buy more companies. How do you differentiate from this sort of mindset? Because they think, that the customer's money has come, so customer is irrelevant. But did the customer say that he is no longer the king?
Well, it's funny you bring this up in this manner, because it is a very serious issue and it's a very serious problem. And when I say I've had an upset of an experience as a customer, I'm talking about some of the largest technology companies in the world. I'm not talking about small ones. But to be honest with you, Ajay, we're never going to be able to change how those types of businesses do business. They are built the way they are. Many of them are now trillion-dollar companies, and Unfortunately, I think those types of tendencies will persist. So I try to focus on what I can control. And what I can control is if I want to be the change myself that I want to see in the world. So I'm going to build world-class customer service because I believe that's an important tenet of a good business. I'm not going to be able to change the way Microsoft does business. It's just not going to happen. So I affect change in the world by being the change I want to see. But you bring up an interesting point. Are companies knowingly making their customer service experience obtuse, at best, and just completely unavailable at worst as a defensive mechanism? Unfortunately, that is absolutely true. And as a customer of that company, you really only have one vote, right? And that is to cancel your recurring subscription and find an alternative. That is my best advice. That when you experience that, and if you have the means, you'll make a change. Don't do business with businesses that don't take the customer experience seriously, that don't value you after the sale, because at the end of the day, I think there are some nefarious operators out there who have made their availability of support purposefully difficult to get your hands on. But I do think that the vast majority of the lack of attention to detail and customer service is not some type of nefarious scheme. I think oftentimes it's just either inexperience or lack of knowledge on the part of the management teams that are responsible for that. And that's why I have to say for my portfolio of companies and our leaders in our C-suite, I just advocate a very aggressive approach to that shopping experience. Become the customer for a few hours a month or a quarter, and you will learn more about your business than you will almost doing anything else. And oftentimes you're shocked. I can't believe it took this long to get a response. I can't believe that I was routed to the wrong department. I can't believe that they didn't address me by my surname. I mean, whatever the upset is you experience, document it and share that as a teachable moment with your teams, and embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it, because the number one reason that I think you find this within most technology companies is they will build a FAQ section on their website, frequently asked questions, and it'll be very robust. And they will have thought of every problem that one might experience. And then they feel that their job is done oftentimes. The other thing is having remote 24/7 live support of your technology company is not expensive. I mean, it's not as though it is just an impossible investment that virtually no one can make. You can do it for a relatively low amount of investment on a recurring monthly basis. Even if the phone number, for example, goes to an answering service and they can't actually handle the technology problems, the customer's perception is that there's some thoughtfulness, that there's a caring about the customer, and that a live human being is actually taking that call. And so the introduction of AI into live phone support is still in its very early stages, not terribly robust, but it's going to get better and better. So as that becomes more prevalent, then it will be I think a welcome advancement to better customer experiences, and the costs will come down even further. So there really is no excuse, because we all have to remember the day you lose a customer is the day you sell a customer. So you're always going to have customers entering and exiting, your business. And how do you combat that? How do you decrease churn? You give good service. You create the best product possible. And your intent is always pure. And so long as you operate with those that mindset, you'll do fine. Your business will prosper.
Absolutely. So, Charles, a lot of people who are genuinely thinking about customer service, they bring in automation.
Yeah.
And so, how do they calibrate this bots, automation, as well as the human factor
Mm.
into things, so that the customer is not left behind. He is not the last thing that comes to their mind. How do they do that?
Yeah. Well, when you build your automation funnel for customer service, you have to be able to allow your customer to have direct interface when you come to the end of a line of a particular, uh, perhaps it's a login problem. They're having trouble logging into the software. So the first prompt that comes from automation is do this, try this, what browser are you on? Check your internet connection. I mean, it's going to ask you all those basics. But once we've been through the rudimentary basic options that can easily be presented by automation, there has to be a way for your customer to get live support now. Now, you may not have the means today to have 24/7 phone support or chat support. But again, in this day and age, it's hard to believe that if you're a recurring revenue company doing a few $1,000s in revenue in your very earliest stages, you have enough capital to have that support. 24/7 chat support. It's not that expensive. And so you have to give that customer that option at all times. So, we've all experienced it. And you and I, Ajay, have been on this planet more than probably most of your viewers and listeners. And so we know the days of calling an 800 number and you're trying to get through. And even as early as 10 years ago, you can always push 0 and get routed to a live person. And so I think having a very simply articulated way for the customer to exit the automated experience and come over to live handling, that, in my opinion, is an important underpinning that must exist. As far as balance, it depends on the customer. I mean, you may have customers who have no desire to ever interface with automation. And then you may have customers who are perfectly fine with just reviewing an FAQ or being in a chat relay. So it's going to depend on the customer. I don't think there's ever a way to strike a perfect balance. And then, the funny thing is, all entrepreneurs, all business owners have an incredible superpower. If a customer becomes abusive, if a customer takes egregious advantage of your live support, fire the customer.
Right.
Get rid of them. If they're causing you that kind of upset, there's no reason to persist. You just end the business relationship, you refund their fee, and you get on with life, and you aspirationally hope for better customers. That, as an entrepreneur, is an amazing superpower, where you can fire customers who chew up too much in the way of resources and time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, be that as it may, in terms of your investments, are you also looking at India? As you said, India is the century in the Indian companies, or India itself.
Yeah, I mean, if Jeff Bezos says it, then it must be true, right? So we are in a position today where we are evaluating companies from really all over the globe. And in terms of Indian founders, I'm interfacing with half a dozen of them today, just in my current efforts to evaluate companies, due diligence, for example. One of the industries we're particularly focused on is the world of LinkedIn marketing. And so we actually have a remarkable service that focuses on helping to bolster not only the profile and presence, but the actual network that one can build on the LinkedIn platform. And so there are two companies in particular that are based in India that we are evaluating now that would be potential enhancements to that platform. And so we're pretty excited about that. Another industry we're very excited about is the restaurant industry. And a number of our companies focus on that industry as the beachhead market. And so there's an Indian startup that focuses on integrated dietary information with respective menus, but it's all automated. So you don't have to actually program the ingredients and the recipes, just by the the title of the menu item, it'll give you the dietary information. It'll give you the restrictions that need to be, not take part in that particular menu item. And that happens to be, they're Indian founders, but I believe they're living in Canada now. So yeah, I mean, Indian entrepreneurs are of particular interest to us because there's just such a prodigious amount of startup ingenuity coming, from India. So we are excited about that at Relentless.
Absolutely. There is much to learn from you, Charles, and not only about business, also about the way you have built your businesses and you are looking at the future. So, for those people who would want to know more about you, learn more from you, and also engage with you professionally if they want to sell their company or want to engage
Sure.
in business with you.
Sure. I mean, I'm a daily user on LinkedIn, so I'm not difficult to find. In fact, if you just take note of my first and last name, there are only a handful of us on the planet, so I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. And then our company website is berelentless.com. I'm very easy to contact in that manner as well. And then actually, if you spend time on that website, you will see the way that we do business, the various silos, and a lot of encouragement to those who are in the entrepreneurial space. Some formulaic recommendations on how one should be running a business. And we offer our time on a very regular basis to mentor and guide startup companies on a pro bono basis. So we're always happy to offer time, to the young and early stage startup entrepreneurs who are seeking to build the better company, who like me want to be that change they wish to see in the world by being it themselves, creating a better experience for customers, creating tools that actually help small business owners thrive. These are the types of things that I get personally excited about.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Ajay. I appreciate it.